Good evening. Welcome to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke, and tonight we have a consummate entertainer. Mr. Joe Coleman, the lead of the famed Platters, is with us, and we're going to talk about his story and his next journey, which you have many because you've been doing this for so many years, Joe.
Quite a few years, yes, indeed.
Quite a few years, but you just keep coming up with wonderful new.
Trying to keep it moving. Yeah,
keep it moving, and you do keep it moving. I mean,
Yep.
you're author, you're entertainer, singer,
Yeah,
businessman.
yeah. God has been good, and I always say I try to keep the ball bouncing, keeping it moving,
Keep it moving.
keep it fresh,
Yeah, yeah.
and keep the story growing. Adding another chapter.
Well,
Yeah.
I find amazing that the millennials today know your songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know we've all traveled together, and I know wherever we've been
yeah.
in the world, I know people know your songs.
Mm-hmm.
The Platters, the
Yeah.
Drifters,
Yeah.
the
yeah.
Temptations. I mean,
Yeah.
they all know the songs.
Yes, yes. It's a blessing. It's kind of a resurgence with the young people.
You've seen that.
Yes, you're kind of searching for another music. As I talk to some of the young kids, sometimes they're not as excited about their own music these
Right.
days because some parts of it have gotten a little less musical. So they're in search for something else that they've kind of discovered us.
Yeah.
And it's easy to dance to.
Right.
Easy to sing to, and so it's been
wonderful.
it's
So
been a
you
wonderful
have
thing.
seen this then,
Yes, most certainly, yeah.
and they just keep recording the songs,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, 10 years ago, you did join forces with the lead singer of the Temptations,
Mm-hmm.
the famous Temptations, as
Yeah.
well as the Drifters,
Yes,
and of course you're from the Platters.
correct.
So what a trio.
Yeah,
LCB.
LCB. We're all former lead singers of those particular groups
Yeah.
you mentioned, the Temps and the Drifters and Platters, and we were old friends first. Before being singers, we were friends.
Oh, really? Great.
So we've known each other all our lives, and decided that we'd come back together after many, many years, probably 30 years or more
Right.
apart, and go around together one more time.
That's
And
amazing.
So that's the impetus behind that group. Yes.
But taking yourself back now, what, 40 years. I mean, the Platters were what? The height was the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
The Platters, the height of that group was the late 50s, early mid 60s.
60s, right.
Uh-huh.
But then it just has kept going and going.
It just
and
kept
going.
on going, yeah, because the music was of a quality that it has lasted, 50 years.
50 years.
Effectively,
I mean, it's
yeah.
amazing. It's
Yeah,
remarkable.
Yeah. The first hit, Only You, was released like in 55.
Really?
1955, yeah.
Well, that's a classic.
Yeah.
It's
so,
a classic.
Yeah.
And then Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, that's a
Smoke Gets-
classic.
yes, yes.
My Prayer,
Mhm.
that's a classic. I mean, you have so many classics.
Yes, yeah, it's great music. The then lead singer, the guy who started it all from that perspective was Tony Williams, and he kind of changed the game. The Platters changed the way people recorded R&B music. Leading up to that period,
Oh, really?
was primarily doo-wop and that sort of
And
thing.
doo-wop, right.
Yeah, and this guy, Buck Ram, who was the producer and the manager of the group, came along and he added strings and orchestration and more involved, intricate harmonies and
Right.
lyrics and that sort of thing, and they became.
And that's so really the Platters sort of set the stage.
Yeah.
For then the Drifters came.
Then the
correct?
Drifters came in with a little bit more of a street edge to it, a little bit more of a
Right.
little rough edge coming
Right.
out of New York.
Coming out of New York.
So
Right.
they had all those kind of hits. They owned Broadways and
Right.
and all
right,
that stuff.
that's true. Oh, they
Saturday
came
night
out of
and-
New York, right?
Yeah,
'cause
out of New York. So
right,
it had
right.
a little bit more of an
had a
edge on
different
it.
edge, yeah.
And then the Temptations brought it all together in one package, the whole
Right.
piece. So it was a culmination of the music from those groups, ironically, and that's why that music works together so well. Our biggest
Right.
challenge was that people couldn't imagine that the Platters music and the Drifters music and the Temptations music in the same show could be you know,
Could come
effective.
together,
Yeah,
right,
come together
right.
in the proper way without being
Right,
jerky and
right,
jumping around
right,
and
right.
you know, feeling out of place.
Right.
But since but the progression of that music is what you
Is
hear
what you hear.
in our show.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you dance together,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. We do all the stuff from back in the day, all of the dance moves and the
All the dance
spins
moves, which were great.
yeah, which was the way, you know, what it was about.
That's what it was
all
about.
Yeah. You go to the Howard Theater and you see all those groups together, you know, the Temps and the Miracles and Last Night and the Pips
Wow.
and all those, and they were all stepping and had their own little approach to the music, and it was just a great. Those were great shows, and so
Wonderful
we
shows.
wanted to give them that whole feeling, you know, of the music of that time,
Right,
brought forth to now, and still feeling current
right,
and feeling,
right.
like it's on time and in time.
But it was a real sense of teamwork, and
Yes.
less so maybe than today in terms of you have one performer that dances, or one,
Mm-hmm.
you have a backup dancers, or you have,
Yeah.
but it was, you all had to be in sync. You had to be
Yeah,
in sync.
we were the dancers. You know,
You-
to your point.
You were
yes.
the dancers.
Yeah.
You were the dancers. You were the singers. you were
Yeah,
the-
keeping it moving and spinning, like I said, and stepping across each other and all that kind of stuff. Just making a whole intricate little performance package, you know.
Right.
And
Amazing.
to your point, yeah, now you got all these girls
Backup
and stuff,
dancers, you
dancers
have
and
all the,
stuff like that, which is cool. You
the
know, I'm not
fireworks,
knocking
all
it,
the
but-
lighting,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole.
but we were it.
You were it. So you really had to be good.
That's right.
And now with the four, then you had the Four Tops. Correct?
Mhm.
You had the Four Tops. I mean,
Fabulous group.
you
Yeah,
had just such.
Yeah.
After you.
yeah,
I mean, what came
Yeah.
was remarkable, and then
yeah.
it started to change in the
Mm-hmm.
80s.
Yeah, the 80s. Yeah, we moved on into the Sheiks and
Yeah.
lots of other types of groups that continued the pattern. The Commodores with Lionel Richie and all
Oh,
kind of
that's true.
stuff.
The Commodores, right?
Yeah, just a whole lineage of just great music, great songs.
Great, so yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable. So now, of course, you've all teamed up.
Mm.
Now again,
Mm-hmm.
and you perform still,
Still performing. Yep. Still.
and you perform all over,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and you performed a lot in Las Vegas.
Yes, I
And
in Vegas for many years at the Sahara Hotel. We were there for with the Platters for probably good 10 years over time.
Wow.
In and out of there for long stays, residency kind of situations, and it was fabulous. Can I say it was fabulous?
And the other thing I found fascinating, because we had all traveled together with your wife and all,
Mm-hmm.
that wherever we were
Mm-hmm.
abroad,
Mm-hmm.
people knew your songs.
Yeah. Well, the Platters to that point were probably one of the first international groups, the groups that were known internationally.
Oh, they were, okay.
Yeah, and so that music is known all over the world. Of course, R&B music is currently known all over the world anyway.
It
They
is.
love,
It is,
they
yeah.
love
Would
our
you say
music.
that's one of the
Yeah, but that was one of the
most
first internationally prominent groups. And so no matter where we were
Right.
in the world, where we've gone in the world, China,
Wow.
wherever, Japan, Germany, Copenhagen, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Wow.
They know all of those songs. Whether they can speak the language or not, they can sing
They
those
can
songs.
sing those songs. I mean, it's amazing. They just sort
it's
of break into
fascinating.
the song. And
Yep, yep.
It's amazing.
It
But
is. I loved it.
so I know that you were recently at a huge book convention here in Washington D.C. And you came out with your book,
Yes.
My Time to Shine,
Yes.
which is for you, Joe. It's been like all the time to shine. But like, what was the impetus behind
Well,
deciding to do this? This book. And
yeah, Michael Willard, right?
Yes.
First of all, and our management team, headed by a gentleman by the name of Burke Allen,
Right.
Allen Media Strategies, brought Michael to us and said, would you guys consider doing a book? And of course, it was quite intriguing, the thought of it. Something that is quite an honor.
Yeah.
And so we got together with Michael over quite a long period of time and had numerous sessions, individual and collective sessions.
Okay, so it was a
Put
collective
together
effort.
collective effort to put together some stories and thoughts about where we've been, and
Yeah.
and the book is about about us, about the guys
Yeah.
having been friends.
For how many years?
Well, let me tell you the story.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Blunt and I, the gentleman from the Drifters, Joe Blunt from the Drifters, and I have known each other since we were 7 or 8 years
wow.
old. His mother and my mother were directors of the junior choir at our church
Okay,
here
so
in
now it all comes back to
That's
your
right.
mother's. Okay.
Yeah, all back to Mom
Yeah.
in Washington, D.C. at Mount Pleasant Baptist
I
Church.
love it. It's great.
Yeah, and so we were thrust into the choir. Neither one of us recalls being asked if we wanted to be in the choir. We were thrust in the choir, but that's how we learned.
You were asked to be in the choir.
No, yeah,
No, you were told to be in the choir.
told we were in the
choir,
choir.
right.
And so that's where we learned group harmony and choir singing and
great. Oh,
ensemble, and, so that sort of thing. So it was quite a great thing for us,
Wow,
actually,
great.
particularly for me as a very shy young man. I was extremely shy. So I think my mother saw this as a path to kind
That's
of
wonderful.
break me out of all of that. And then Glenn Leonard, from the Temptations, came along at age 15.
Wow.
At age 15, he met Joe Blunt and kind of brought him into the circle.
Yeah.
And we worked together in a couple of groups, Group True Reflection on Atlantic Records, and they had some other groups that they worked on. And I actually ran into Glenn in Las Vegas. He was there doing some work, and I was at the Sahara, and I looked in the audience, and there he was at the Platters show. And we talked after the show about what was happening, and kind of planted a seed right there that we might try to do something later on, and, which came to fruition. So it's been quite a great experience. Yeah.
What an experience. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and you've traveled together. You've had to travel out of town. You've had to travel
Yeah.
pretty extensively, haven't you?
Yes, yes. We've been all over the country. We've got dates coming up in L.A.
Do you?
and Savannah, Georgia. We're going to be down in Charlotte, North Carolina. But we were most recently we did something at Huntington, West Virginia, with the Huntington Symphony. That was amazing.
Wow, it's
55
amazing.
pieces. That was
55 pieces.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, full out.
When was this? This was recently.
This was recently. Yeah, this was our last month. We were down there with something they call pops in the park.
Oh, pops! Oh my God, it's
Pops in the
fascinating.
park. So we were out in the park, right by the lake. A beautiful night.
A beautiful night.
A beautiful night under the lights and all that.
Wow, what an experience!
Just kind of a wall of sound behind us with the full orchestra there, the strings and
wow, what a performance!
It was
I'd
absolutely.
love to see this on video.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we captured snuck a little video.
You snuck a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
But it was a great experience, and so that's the kind of things we've been doing. A lot of work around the country. Yeah.
A lot of work, which is wonderful too, because you're going into all these communities and bringing people back.
Yeah, back to
their roots.
To the roots.
To the roots, which is what
the
it's
time
about.
when life was easy.
When life was
or at
easy.
least it felt that way, right?
I love it.
Yeah, and we're all, just to note, we're all from D.C. We all grew up in D.C.
That's great.
And
so the Washington, D.C. That's
kind of
what
bringing it home.
What a talent we have here.
Yeah,
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll
Okay.
come back and we'll talk more about how you got into it.
Okay,
Take it back.
sounds good.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back. You're watching The Next Word, and tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Joe Coleman, the lead singer of the Platters. So Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, My Prayer, as well as Only You are the songs for this group.
Pretending that I'm doing well. My need is such, I pretend too much. I'm lonely, but
And the main man, Mr. Coleman.
My
We're so happy. I'm so happy to have you on.
Oh yeah, we're having a good time.
And
Thank
you're
you for
like,
having me.
you're universally, loved and
Yeah, thank you.
watched. And we were just saying earlier that the young generation, which of course did not grow up with your songs,
Correct. Yeah.
Loves
surprised.
it.
Yeah,
Loves it.
surprised. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's kind of what you hope that
Right.
people will enjoy the music that you're presenting to them, and it's been shocking just how well it's been received by the young people. To tell you the honest
Isn't that
truth,
great?
because the music is not anywhere close to what they're doing right now. Because
Right.
the current music has a more production than
Right. Right.
its production value is kind of like out front.
Right.
Now it was more about the lyrics and the harmony and that sort of thing. Kind of
Right.
was that kind of presentation. We were presenting a sentiment
Right.
that was usually
Which
built
is
around some
timeless,
kind of
though, Jim.
love.
Yeah, which is timeless, though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
timeless.
Yeah.
But going back though to how you got into the business. Of course, your mother made you join the choir
Mm-hmm. Yep.
at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church.
Yes.
In Washington D.C.
Washington, D.C.
So you got your first start there,
Yes.
and then what? Take it from there. Like you kind of kept singing. And,
Yeah. Then the local talent shows and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And that's when Joe and I and my brother, William Coleman.
He has a voice also.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he sang with a group called the Persuaders.
Oh, really?
A song called "Thin Line Between Love and Hate," which is in the African American community. That song is much loved by the ladies. The women love that song. Of course, it's a song about a guy pretty much getting caught up in court
Oh, caught.
by the woman, and
By
she
the woman.
punishes him pretty bad.
Oh, she punishes him.
Yeah.
So the women like it.
To the
then.
effect that he
That's
ends
great.
up in the hospital, and
Oh.
they just
That's a good
and
one.
they
Oh,
love
this
it.
is an interesting.
Thin Line Between Love and Hate, yeah.
Yeah.
But so he sang with that group, but that's where we all started doing the talent shows and singing in the hallways and in the courtyard at the high school and that sort of thing. Just trying to feel it out.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, it became a little bit more serious, where you say, well, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
People seem to be enjoying what I do.
Right.
And the next thing, Joe and I and Glenn and a fourth gentleman named Bobby Cox ended up with a group called True Reflection on Atlantic Records.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were on Atlantic Records, the ATCO label for Atlantic Records, and kind of had a regional hit, but nothing major and that sort of thing. So from that group, we branched off, and I ended up with the Platters. And Glenn ended up with the Temps. In fact, Glenn was the first to depart to the
Temptations.
Temptations. Yeah. In fact, they heard some recordings that we'd done as True Reflection, and said, "Who's the tenor guy on those recordings?" And they were friends with this guy named Tony Sylvester, who was with a group called The Main Ingredient, which was a
The
very
Main Ingredient,
yeah,
right.
pop R&B group, and he was producing us.
Wow.
And so he played the stuff for Otis Williams and from the Temps, and they were
Otis
like,
Williams.
okay,
Oh, yeah. Talk about.
So we found him up in Toronto, him being Glenn, up in Toronto. They flew him out to L.A. and
Wow.
he went off with them, and
That's how it
on
started.
and on, yeah. So,
What a story.
yeah.
And then from there, you just traveled and.
And traveled around the world, got to see a great portion of the world, and just quite an amazing experience. Just
I know.
being out
It's
there. And
phenomenal.
again, in China, all places. What I like is the feeling of being someplace different.
Right,
I don't
right,
want to.
right.
I want to feel like I got off a plane and I'm in New York.
Right, right,
So
right.
going to places like China and Japan and Tokyo in particular, it was just wow. This is cool.
Oh, yeah.
I almost moved to Hong Kong. I loved Hong Kong. I was
Really?
thinking about
Wow. And they loved your music. I
yeah,
bet.
yeah. We were over there doing something at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium over there.
Really?
Yeah, in Hong Kong, and it was just fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So that's just a story round and round and round, going around.
Round and round. You
Doing
still
the
have
thing.
more time to go and
More
more
time to do. Yeah.
And so you decided to write the book with. your
with
two other
Michael and with the
partners, yeah.
guys, my partners, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the story is truthfully, it's less about the groups and less about, it's more of about us
relationships?
and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
we got there. Again, how often do you run into situations where three guys in a group have known each other all their
Oh, yeah,
lives.
no, that's really,
All
especially
their
in
lives.
Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Grew up, Glenn and Joe went to McKinley Tech High School. And
Right.
I went to Roosevelt. And, you know, we just kind of did our thing. And so we
Right.
thought we would tell those stories about us, how we came together, and our experiences, some experiences with our groups, but stories about us and our journey and that sort of thing. And tell a few things, two tales that basically have never told any of my friends. So they'll be
Right.
surprised when they read it.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
wonderful,
Mhm.
wonderful. And you know, that whole area, the Mount Pleasant, Adams Morgan,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so much talent.
So much
that
going
came
on.
out of
Yeah,
it.
so many great groups and talented people.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so it was a kind of like a talent experience all the way. America's Got Talent was Washington's Got Talent.
Washington's Got Talent. And you know, being in the gospel, being in your choir,
Mhm.
really was a platform for a lot of the great singers.
Yes.
When you think about like Aretha Franklin.
Aretha,
I
Marvin
mean, her
Gaye.
father was a was a preacher.
Mhm.
You know, then you had Whitney Houston, right?
Right, that's
I mean,
right.
they all sort of started
Yeah.
in the the
That's
gospel
most
choir.
black entertainers of the day in particular, couldn't afford
Right.
singing lessons,
lessons,
and all
right.
those kind of things. So the church with those great gospel singers,
Oh yeah.
it was our proving ground, our learning ground. We
Right.
just sat at the feet of some great gospel artists who unheard of around the world. People don't know who they are, but inside that church,
You knew who they were?
They were our Aretha Franklin was a woman by the name Mrs. Crump. Mrs. Crump would tear the church down.
Down?
Yes, she
Really?
would. And I was like in awe of her at all times. Every time she got up to sing, it was like, oh, here we go.
Oh my God.
know.
What happened to her?
Well, just another,
Another-
gospel singer, local.
didn't quite
you
make- yeah, like-
Yeah, I don't think it was even, probably by that time, was even her thought to be
Into the entertainment.
into that world, but just singing for God, singing for the Lord, and just blowing
Powerful,
it out there.
huh?
Powerful. And so that
Wow.
was I kind of set my sights on her. If I can move an audience the way that she can move the congregation at Mount
Right.
Pleasant Baptist Church, then I'll be heading in the right direction.
Yeah, but what a story.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
But so you went, but in between the time though, you did other things, didn't you? Between the time you started, I know you had some other.
Well,
You were involved in some other businesses.
other businesses, and somewhere in there,
Always
I fit,
creative
I fit
businesses,
the,
right?
I fit the Air Force in there somewhere along the line, actually right out of high school. I went to Shaw University for a couple of years, and then my mom got sick, and so I left school. And by the time that she began to feel better, Uncle Sam decided he would test me one more time because I'd gotten a couple of deferments because I was in college, and I happened not to be. So
Right.
away I went to the Air Force, and that was a whole nother
Wow.
entertainment
Really?
experience.
Well, that I didn't know.
Yeah, entertainment experiences. When I got to Japan, so that was the first time I went to Japan as a member of the military. We had a group called the Sensations.
Well, no, I remember the Sensations.
Yeah, the Sensations was the most popular group in Japan at that time, but it was made.
But it was
up
an American group.
American group
Right.
made up of military cats.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't mention that, I was also in the Air Force, 5th Air Force Show Band, the 5th Air Force Show Band.
Oh my
And
God.
so
right.
it was all the great horn players and stuff from
Right.
that group, and joined in with the R&B
Well,
cats.
oh my God,
from the
John,
bass,
something
and so
to
we
know
went
about.
all over Japan singing with the Sensations. So that was my first actual professional experience with that, and I kind of really learned my craft there.
Wow.
In that environment.
In that environment.
'Cause
So it was
thrust
a
in-
godsend to be kind of thrown
Yeah.
into that,
Yeah.
not knowing that you were going to be performing.
Yep. And so, we went to Korea with the 5th Air Force show band to perform for the troops and that sort of thing. So that was another whole experience. That was, so kind of felt like I was doing something good
Yeah.
for, to support the troops, and even though I was one myself,
Right.
and also I was learning how to really entertain and be the out front guy,
And in large numbers.
Yes.
Right.
In large numbers. Yeah, we were doing big performances in front of large audiences all over the place, and it was just amazing. And
So that was sort of set the stage
yep, that's at the stage
to move
for
into
to the recording
the recording.
area.
Wow.
When we went with Atlantic and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was all building up
It was
to
all building up to fame,
yeah, to that
to your fame.
that process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting it all together. Yeah.
Putting it all together.
Yeah.
God, what a story, Joe. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, it takes work and it takes,
Yeah.
I mean, look today, people try to break into,
Mhm. Mhm.
into the business, and
Yeah.
it's, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's harder today, or if it's,
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's harder. It's easier. Now it's all on the internet, right?
Right, right.
The record companies are going away because they haven't figured out how to market
Right.
acts with all the streaming and downloading and
Right.
stuff like that. So it's changed the business completely. But you've got to master the social media aspect of it in order to be successcul
Absolutely.
in modern music, which is becomes a challenge for cats
people-
like myself. Like, how do I get this done?
You got some helpers, huh?
Yeah.
You got a few helpers?
I try to keep young people around me all the time.
All the time.
All the
All
time.
the time.
Working,
Yeah,
working,
all the time.
on the
Right,
stuff. Oh,
right.
well, Joe, you got to do this, and you got to open that Twitter account. So all of that stuff is in place based on the fact that I have to.
Yep,
what I mean?
yes.
Yeah.
And what about your Instagram and your, all of,
Instagram is the last one. I'm working on that now. I'm working on a YouTube channel.
Right.
Particularly for my new stuff, because I'm moving into something I call Joe Coleman No Boundaries.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
Which is I
That's
have my
great,
first
Joe. Oh, wow, that's
performances
great.
up at the Signature Theater coming up. So, and that's going to be the entirety of my experience, right?
Wow.
So the R&B, and then I sing jazz, and I sing blues, and I sing gospel, and of course I sing pop,
Wow,
and
that's
the
great.
oldies. So bringing all
All
that
together.
no boundaries, just wherever the music takes me,
That's where you're going to go.
that's where I'm going. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Well, you've made a lot of people happy, Joe, and your music has been wonderful. And
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, it's been great. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Christine.
And I'll see you next Sunday, July 21st at
Yeah,
the Signature
at the
Theater.
Signature Theater. Thank
Signature
you.
Theater.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've been watching The Next Word. Thank you. Have a great evening. Good night.